And you must be willing to tell them you're either going to vote for them or against them. And you need to tell 5 neighbors or 5 people at church. All right. So we have to formulate your rights through hard work. Okay. You think that the Bill of Rights gives you certain rights. Excuse me. Those rights have been so obliterated by the government. They've been so obliterated by the government. That is what qualified immunity is. And qualified immunity is where the courts can say, well, yeah, you know what? That may be a civil rights violation, but it's never been found to be a civil rights violation. And so therefore, we're going to give them a free bite. Okay, it's kind of like the dog, the vicious dog who gets 1 free bite at your neighbor before you know it's a vicious dog, right? Well, it's the same thing with your civil rights. If they didn't know it was your civil rights, then they get a free pass. And let me tell you what the result of that is. The result of that is that the training sucks, the staffing sucks, the supervision sucks, because then they can get away with saying, we didn't know. We just didn't know. Okay? We didn't know. That's what they say. And they are relentless, and we have to get the bureaucracy under control, and that means we're going to have to take an active part in it. Let me give you another example. In 2007, I finally found a family that I could take to court on the 4th Amendment protections of a family of social workers entering their home. Okay, well, unfortunately, the social workers were able to advance police officers in front of them, and so the police officers pushed their way through the door, and then the social workers followed. So even though I did get the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals to say that the 4th Amendment applies to social workers, they said, well, they just follow the police officers. Now, it was the social workers who were asking for that advance, but we could only go after a police officer. And of course, this is back in 2007, before everybody had cell phones and recorded everything. So it was a he said, she said, and we were unable to meet that requirement with a jury. But we did get a 6th Circuit opinion about the 4th Amendment applying to social workers. So we have to push and push and push and push and push. On another instance with a juvenile in solitary confinement, in spite of the fact that the United Nations had entered a statement that solitary confinement for juveniles was torture, in spite of the fact that and that was about 2009, in 2012 the ACLU put out a whole booklet on Alone and Afraid about how solitary confinement is so emotionally and psychologically deadening to a juvenile. They put a child in juvenile detention under the direction of Judge Sharon Guffey in Williamson County in 2013 for 5 weeks with a brain injury, and allowed him to get assaulted for their lack of policy, their lack of supervision, their lack of training, and cut him off from all contact with his family. It took 6 years to get an opinion from 6th Circuit that says, yes, that was a violation of the supervisor, of the man who was supposed to be supervising them on a day-to-day basis. But oh, guess what? He gets a free pass because we had never made a determination in the past that that was a violation of civil rights. So, because it takes so long and so hard, and the hours that are put into that are they're so oppressive, we have to work through legislators. So I have probably put in, I don't even know, 300 or 400 hours easy in trying to create civil rights. So that's why now I'm going, okay, let's go to the legislators, let's talk to the legislators, let's tell them what the problems are, and let's redirect these laws. So my third one is about custodial interference in ex parte orders. They should not be able to have ex parte orders to be able to punish them. Yeah, not my fault. You're right, Emily. I also put in there, because advice of counsel is a defense in any civil action and not in a criminal action. So I think specifically for under custodial interference, since it relies upon a court order, and this is the only crime, it's the only criminal conduct that I can find that is dependent upon a court order. Now, it says a valid court order, but if there are other irregularities or deficiencies in that order, and the client is advised on that, and they get sound legal reasoning and make sound a plan, like, we did, as we want to get a hold of the judge and get this squared away. We'd called DCS like 8 times, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 times, as well as the detective. So there should specifically be a defense that they can rely upon sound legal reasoning as a defense. So I'm asking for those under custodial interference. The fourth one is about terminating for lack of child support while a child is in foster care. This is a great Ponzi scheme, okay? This whole thing, foster care, Title 4D, is a great Ponzi scheme. So they put a child in foster care, then they order the parent to pay child support under Title 4D regulations, and then they pay the foster parent out of your tax dollars. So the parent is actually being taxed for their child being in foster care. The foster parent gets the tax dollars, and then we terminate parental rights because they're not paying their child support, and then we let the foster parents adopt and continue to have the taxpayers pay the foster parents until the child ages out. All right, and there are so many people that don't understand that. So not only do we give a bonus check to the state when they adopt out a child and they put a price tag on every kid's head, but they also continue those payments. Now let me tell you how huge those payments are growing. Again, your money, your money, your money, your money. How many times can I say this? This is your money. Becoming a legislator, so Emily, yes, kind of, except I did run for legislature in 2008. Since then, I have opted not to do that because I want to focus on, I'm reading your comments, Lynette. I know, it's horrible. I want to focus on family policy, and if you are a legislator, you have to deal with a lot of other issues. So you have to deal with taxations and environment and, so many other issues that, respectfully, I know where my special knowledge is and where I want to develop policy on a state and on a national level. And so I'm working on putting myself in those positions on a state and national level to get that policy so that we have sound policy so that we can respond to all these things that are happening. So the adoption assistance money in Tennessee alone, this is the money after adoption that's going to foster parents, is $9 million a month. Okay, now that is on top of the $933 million we are now putting in of our tax dollars into DCS, which is basically the foster care Ponzi scheme, right? So $1 billion a year. Just for Tennessee taxpayers, $1 billion a year. Now there are 50 states, average out, probably a good 50 billion, probably 60 billion, $70 billion that we're looking at. This is taxpayer money. All right, this includes everything from foster care to fake evals, fake drug screens. I want to tell you, and I'm going to share with Wendy's case, I had her go get a psych eval with a licensed psychologist. I had her go and get an A&D assessment with a licensed facility. And you know what DCS attorney Tracy Hetzel said? She goes, it's not good enough. We want her to go to our psychologist because maybe their psychologist was improperly influenced by Miss Reguli. They didn't even have a psychologist. They had a therapist on board, and it took them 10 months to get the child who they had total control of, 2 children, took them 10 months for those 2 children to get their evaluations, and it took another 3 months to get Wendy's, and then guess what? They refused to give us a copy of them. They refused to give us a copy of the evaluations that they had done. We still don't have them because they dismissed the case and then we could not get the records. We still don't have them. Refused to give us those records. Would not accept the ones that we had already done. So it's the most outrageous Ponzi scheme there is. And what is a Ponzi scheme? It's basically taking money from over here, right? And giving it over here to somebody else. And it's just like shifting money. And it's just, a Ponzi scheme is like, okay, you give me $3,500 and then you go get 3 people to give you $3,500 and then look at all that money you're going to make, right? And you just kind of keep doing it that way. Well, this is basically taking the child as the Ponzi. Right? We're going to take your child and you're going to have to pay for that child to be in our care. And then we're going to take all this taxpayer money and we're going to flood it out to the foster society, the foster world, right? All right. So those are the 4 things that I'm asking to go forward with legislatively. Now, DCS is basically outraged, okay? They hate me. And you know what? I've lived through 6 commissioners in 27 years. I have dealt with DCS longer than probably anybody who's working in DCS has worked with them. I mean, even the people who are like up there sitting at the top, Doug Diamond, Sophia Crawford. I know Sophia worked in DCS, and then she became a juvenile judge, and then she lost her election. Then they took her back as a DCS attorney. Doug Diamond, he was working someplace else in the state government. So they're all bureaucrats up there. They're all bureaucrats. Nobody is dealing with the people. I file internal complaints. I mean, I try to do things the right way. I do a detailed internal complaint and say, you need to look at this. You need to look at that, what this DCS worker did by taking a piece of paper that says it's a drug screen, but it says in written words not to be used for legal purposes, and then you go and you file that with the court and you rip a 2-day-old baby out of the mother's arms because of that. Perfectly healthy baby. So, I've seen them. I see it on a day-to-day basis. I get people calling me from counties all over the state of Tennessee. But I'm going to tell you what I do when somebody calls me. And this is my call out to you, every one of you, through the Family Forward Project or anybody having any issues with anything in state government, which has, whether it's education or vaccines or DCS or transportation or whatever, you need to get on the phone with your legislator. And you can go to, it doesn't matter, Jennifer, you need to keep calling, and then you need to call other legislators. And if that's your legislator, Madison Leppy, you need to call the next one, and you need to say, you know what, my legislator won't listen, but I want you to know this is an issue, and it's going to be bubbling up, and it's going to be more and more. Why won't more attorneys come together? Because you know why? I'll tell you exactly why, Victoria. It's because they want to get rid of me. They face sanctions. Attorneys cannot speak out, okay? We do have an American Bar Association parent representation section, and we have people all over the country who see these issues. We're sharing these ideas on listserv, but still nobody is progressively, actively working and speaking out against them because they will be retaliated against. Right here, be retaliated against. As a matter of fact, I was in a hearing this week. There are like 5 judges that I've complained about. I've called them out for things that they've done. Illegal campaign contributions, sexual affairs with the secretaries, secret meetings, secret ex partes. I've called them out, right? And not allowing us to record in the courtroom when there's a statute that says you can. And what do? Oh, parents who go to the county commission, and I happen to be with them. I was with them. And so now I should be sanctioned, and my license should be removed because I was with parents who was in front of a county commission complaining about the conduct of Judge Sharon E. Guffey. So that, according to the Board of Professional Responsibility, is sanctionable. And we were at a hearing this week, and I said, I want to depose them. I want to put them on video and depose them because I want to share what they have to say. Guess what? The Attorney General, again, on your taxpayer dollars, and the county attorney on your taxpayer dollars came in and said, no, she should not be able to depose them, and we should not be able to post them, and we should put an order down that she can't post any information about what's going on. I'm like, this is public. This is public, and it's about me. I can say whatever I want to. And so they do not want the truth to be told. They do not want the truth to be told. And unless you all understand what's going on and sees what's going on and are willing to say, okay, time to step up, time to take a step up, then we need to, I can't do it alone. And I'm going to say, God bless you all. I have seen so many of you all. Amy and Patty and Whitney and Jen and Jenny, and I mean, I see you. I read what you've got going on all the time. And then there are the families that are just still in that middle of that struggle and working so hard. Kara and Emily, I mean, I'm watching, I'm scrolling through, reading your stories. If I don't make a comment on it, I try to at least hit a like so you know that I've at least seen it, okay? Because the things that are going on are repeated patterns. They're ex parte orders, they're lies, they're unlawfully taken children, they're putting children in foster care when it's unnecessary. I'm going to call out as well that it is taxpayer fraud. Bleeping computer. It is I'm sorry. I am reading a few comments here. So if any of you are watching this on YouTube, this is a Facebook Live, and I'm watching the comments. And then when I watch their comments, of course, I totally forget where I am. So you have to bear with me on that. So those of you who are actively helping, thank you, thank you, thank you. Patty is setting up Family Forward for each state. And then you need to get in that state. Okay, so Family Forward Project is the national group, and you need to be in that group, because if I do a live, I'm either going to do on my personal timeline or I'm going to do it in the group, because the group has 15,000. My personal timeline, of course, can only reach the 5,000 friends unless people share it to their timelines. So a lot of times I'll do them in Family Forward Project. I download them, and then I upload them on YouTube, and then I share them again. All right? That's the way I'm doing it, and I wish I would set like a standard time every week. If y'all promised me like that standard time every week, you'd be there, but I know you can't do that. I mean, life is crazy right now. So I jump on when I can. Hopefully you're scrolling the timeline, watching it. I'm trying to mark most of them as announcements. So Patty is setting up most of the states. So in each state, ultimately, people are going to have to step up and be either a researcher or an organizer. And I'm going to tell you what that is. All right, so an organizer means you're watching your group. You are making sure your social media is intact, so you're getting the members accepted. You're watching your members. If you have any members that are just rude and saying horrible things or redirecting to other websites or trying to raise money, none of that is allowed under Family Forward. You can't post other things for donations. You can't post to try to get people to join organizations and other groups. You can do that some other way if you want to, but not in our groups. Our state groups are for you to share stories about the states and for you to start identifying who your legislators are, your judges, watching the news, and watching what's going on in your state, so that we can go in and we can start doing our state meetings to identify specifically what we need to do in the states. Your researcher is the one who is going to be knowing where to find all the state laws. They don't have to know all those state laws because they're not lawyers, but they need to, and I'm setting up, right now I just kind of started it in WordPress, because I already have a blog there where setting up for the states where we can have in one place a link to your state laws, to your state legislators, to the state budgets, to the state agencies. All right. So, and Laura, thank you. Laura and Emily are working in Missouri. I met with them when I were out there, so I appreciate that. And we're going to have a call tomorrow to kind of find out where we are. So your researcher is the one, if I say, go look at the budget for this. So what I have done is I've just worn Tennessee information out. I I went back and I pulled the budget for the past 7 years, and then I made a chart, and I know some of you have seen that. I don't have it with me today, but I made a chart of each year from 2013, like how the money has increased. It went from 732 million to 933 million. That's in like 7 years. So that is a 30% increase in 7 years. And that does not include the adoption assistance money. So the money is outrageous, outrageous. All right, so I'm going to briefly talk about the vaccine issue as far as what's happening. There's a couple of things that came out. And again, you want to get a vaccine, you want to get vaxxed, you have to make that decision. I am a conservative that believes in privacy rights and privacy interest and medical freedom. Okay, so you've got to be able to make those medical freedom decisions on your own. I know I have studied a lot about it. I've watched a lot of videos. I've read a lot of articles. It's not for me. It is not for me and my family. So, but if you want to do it, fine. But here's what you need to know. From a government level, anybody involved with the government is going to be compelled to get vaccinated ultimately. Here are two things that came out. One was a letter on June the 7th. And this is from the Administration of Children and Families. Now, the Administration of Children and Families used to be run by Jerry Milner. Let me see who signed this letter. Associate Commissioner. Okay, so this is signed by an Alicia Schomburg, who says that she's an Associate Commissioner of the Children's Bureau. Jerry Milner was under the Trump administration, was the head of ACF, Children's Bureau. And I don't know what his political disposition is, but I will say that he did some great things for reform. All right. He had a mentality. He spoke at the 2019 American Bar Association Parent Representation Conference, and he had the mentality that children only belong in foster care as a last resort. That was his mentality. In addition, in December of 2018 or 19, can't remember which year, he put out a statement, a technical directive from the Department of Health and Human Services Children's Bureau, and he said that the states could use Title IV money to supplement payments to provide quality parent representation. Very few states did it. Tennessee didn't do it, too much trouble for them, but there are a few states who took advantage of that. And interestingly enough, they are the more liberal states. Washington State did, and actually Washington, D.C., and I think New Jersey are the ones who actually even tried to reach in that and apply those funds. None of the other 47 states even were affected by it. And you know why? Because that communication goes from the federal Department of Health and Human Services down to the state agencies. And the state agencies want to ignore it, they can ignore it, okay, because it's not getting to us, which is part of what I'm doing. I am sniffing out this information, and then I'm running with it, okay? Which is one reason why DCS doesn't like me, all right? There's somebody I'm sure with DCS who's going to watch this video, or they'll watch it when it's on YouTube. They like to watch it on YouTube because I can't identify the viewers once it's on YouTube, right? I can identify them and see who's watching. I also know that people are snooping on me. They're sharing the video with other people. I mean, I got all of that, y'all. I know it. So it is what it is, and I am totally okay with it. Right? I did the Lucy video. I got 200,000 views and people bawled their eyes out, right? So the more views, the better, because y'all need to be educated. So this letter came down on June the 7th from the Bureau, Children's Bureau, and it says, this letter is intended to strongly encourage all child welfare agencies to remain mindful of the following general and population-specific considerations and need you to craft and implement coordinated vaccination plans across child welfare staff and populations. This includes effective communication with limited English proficient caregivers to ensure that they understand the information, resources, and assistance available. Child welfare agency and system are poised to deliver a coordinated and effective plan to vaccinate youth, families, and other individuals. Okay, you understand what they're saying there? It's like this agency, this federal agency, Department of Health and Human Services, is going to be actively involved in vaccinations. And what does that mean? It means any of your children, let me go through it and read another section to you. On March 12th, the Children's Bureau issued a letter to the field urging all child welfare agencies to immediately contact all youth and young adults in colleges and other settings who may need assistance and secure housing. We urge all child welfare agencies to, again, make contact to inquire if young people have received the vaccine. Ask if they have questions or need assistance in making an appointment to be vaccinated, and offer to arrange transportation to vaccination appointments. All right, your tax dollar, okay? I don't care whether you get a vaccine or not, but I do care that you're using my money to do it. I do care that you're using my money to go to colleges and do flyers, communications, set up booths, knock door to door, whatever you're doing, that you're using my tax dollars to go out and give transportation and act as an advertising agency for Pfizer, Moderna, and whoever the other one was. I can't even remember. Anyway, the 3 vaccines that are swarming around this country. Okay, I object to you using my tax dollars to do that. All right, and then it goes on. We urge all child welfare agencies to make immediate contact with all kinship care providers and grand families to offer assistance with making appointments and providing transportation to vaccination sites, and where possible to make arrangements for vaccinations during home visits. Got that? During home visits. We also remind all child welfare agencies that kinship navigator programs and funds can be used to conduct outreach and provide direct assistance to kinship care providers, that Title IV-E kinship navigator expenses may be reimbursed by Children's Bureau at 100% until August the 30th, 2001. Okay, so our Family First money that was intended to be reunification and stabilization of families by 12-month services prior to removal and kinship navigators are being used to promote vaccinations and provide transportation and set appointments and provide the vaccinations. Our money. Yes, I will, Kimberly. I think I may have sent it to you. But this letter is actually on the timeline. I posted the news article that was done on Commissioner Jennifer Nichols at the Department of Children's Services, where she basically said it was up to the foster parents to decide if they were going to vaccinate the children in their homes. And she also said that DCS wasn't tracking it. That's what she said. So that is in that article. It says, based on a letter from HHS. So if you click on that link, there's where it is, but I will also provide this link as well. All right, it also says, right here, ensuring the health and safety of child welfare workforce is an utmost priority. On April 17, 2020, the Children's Bureau issued a letter noting that the purchase of personal protective equipment is allowable under the cost of Title IV-B and Title IV-E of the Social Security Act. Letters to child welfare leaders and governors were also sent on that date, encouraging them to work with public health officials to obtain PPE for their child welfare workers. We urge similar prioritization and steps to be taken now to ensure prioritization of access to vaccinations for Child Protective Services worker and case workers that serve children, youth, and families. All right, so our money, again, not only did we pay for the whole vaccination program, okay, that's the reason they're giving it away, is because we already paid for it. We paid tax dollars to pay for those vaccines. And now they're using our tax dollars, our tax money, the billions of dollars that we pay out of our hard-earned working dollars, guys. We get out there, we grind away every day. I mean, I have worked every freaking day of my adult life, grinding away, trying to save a little here, trying to save a little there, trying to have security, have a home, pay utilities, make sure my family has food, grinding away. And this is what they're doing with our tax dollars. This is your tax dollars. It's not the government spending it. It's your tax money. All right, so they have allowed to use Title 4B and Title 4E money to pay for PPE and any vaccination, transportation, whatever you need. I guess a day off to go get your vaccine. And then if you have a fever the next day, I guess you can take 2 or 3 days off. You have a little fever from your vaccine, all on our dime. Our dime. And y'all don't even know about it. Y'all don't even know about it. All right, it also says families served, okay, not just foster children, not just kids who are aged out of foster care and who are in college, because those kids are, okay, you probably don't know this either. If a child ages out of foster care and they have not been adopted, then they get a paycheck from DCS, okay? I looked this up too. I found every kid's name in there. I found every kid's name, how they're getting basically somewhere between $400 and almost $500 a month until, I don't know what age it is. It was kind of hard to track. I would say to about age 23. So they're getting a paycheck still. So DCS is still tracking them. They still know where they are, right? They still know where they are. They're sending them a paycheck, pay for their college, right? Okay, you age out of foster care, you get your college paid for. I know that they have lured children who are 17 years old into foster care to be able to get that benefit. Let's go on. Another paragraph. Families served by the child welfare system. We also urge child welfare agencies to reach out to all parents of children in care, as well as all families being served by the child welfare system, to inquire if they have had a vaccine, have a vaccination plan, or would like assistance accessing a vaccine. The pandemic has been especially hard on parents with children in foster care. Well, that's a truth, because they cut off all visitations. Interrupting or limiting family time and the ability to see their children, or delaying reunification plans. In many places around the country, parents have experienced loss of employment or reductions in income, housing instability, limited access to health care, or other crucial services and supports, of any of which can make access to vaccinations more difficult. Oh yeah, okay, so they worry about your vaccination being more difficult to get, but they don't worry about the fact that you're having trouble finding a job because the economy's shut down. Many parents also lack reliable access to the internet, which can be an obstacle to making vaccination appointments. Oh, well, I mean, honestly, with all the people I deal with, about 90% of them have a smartphone. Just saying, okay? Proactively assisting parents with access to vaccinations should be seen as an important step to supporting family health stability and promoting reunification. Okay, so guess what's going to be happening? All these families who are in the process of a PERM plan and trying to get reunification, vaccination is going to be on their PERM plan. Vaccination is going to be on the PERM plan. One more paragraph here I'm going to go into. Finally, it is important for child welfare agencies to start to look ahead to when vaccines may be available for children under age 12. The time is now to review existing laws, procedures, and protocols, and to solicit input from medical professionals, caregivers, parents, children, and youth, courts, and advocates to develop protocols for determining consent to provide COVID-19 vaccine to children in foster care. Preparing now will ensure that children under age 12 are able to be quickly vaccinated so they can return to full participation in their school and community activities. The CDC developed educational materials tax dollars to increase vaccine confidence and ensure equitable vaccine distribution to adolescents who are at increased risk for severe COVID-19, those with limited access to routine vaccination services, and other hard-to-reach populations. Okay, now in Tennessee, and in America, we got a lot of what they probably call hard-to-reach populations, okay? Rural, white, conservative Americans are a huge population demographic. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee spent $10 million of our taxpayer dollars to do a study to find out how he needed to encourage people to get a vaccine. White, rural, conservatives were a demographic group in the study, okay? In the study. Not my idea, in the study. And the study showed that white, conservative, rural Tennesseans would not even take it if they were paid. Would not even take it if they were paid. Again, we appreciate all efforts you have made and continue to make during these very difficult times to help keep children and youth safe. We ask you to continue demonstrating leadership and creativity in developing vaccination plans. All right? So, it's coming from everywhere. It's coming from everywhere on your tax dollars. So when they decide that this vaccination should be mandatory, they will be removing children for ex parte orders because your parent would not get a vaccine and vaccinating the children without consent. That's where we're going. And if a parent doesn't turn that child over for a lack of a vaccination, that parent, just like my client Wendy, will be arrested for a felony. Oops. Kimberly says she can't hear. Can anybody else hear me? I started speaking a little, maybe too low. I'll say it again. Where we're headed. Mandatory vaccine for COVID-19 to get in school, to go to the doctor, to go to a dentist, and an ex parte order when a parent refuses to do so. Take the child, vaccinate the child, no time for exceptions, lock the parent up for failing to do so. There's another law that Tennessee passed unanimously, and this is why we have to take over family policy globally, because they're pot-shotting these laws and then they are using them against us and we don't even know it. Because what you think might be criminal, such as what? Lie, cheat, and steal, right? Guns, violence, and, illegal guns, let's say, because I'm a guns right person too. Illegal weapons, violence, illegal drugs, okay? The things that you think in your head are criminal, there's so much more that they've made criminal. They have made ordinary human conduct criminal. Ordinary human conduct. For instance, they passed a law in Tennessee, a supermajority Republican state. Private rights, liberty rights should be the mantra of the state. We elect these conservatives in because we believe that the rights of privacy are at issue. They passed a law 100% that if you are under an investigation with DCS and you change a child's school enrollment, it is a crime. Not that there's a finding against you, not that they even have any legitimate source to even conduct an investigation, but they have an anonymous tip that they won't even tell you who it's coming from. They won't even tell you what the allegations are when they are required to, that it is a crime. And if you cross a state line under an anonymous investigation, it's a felony. 100% passed. So you better be paying attention. You better be paying attention, and you better be joining up, and you better be finding out who your state legislators are, because as we enter this new legislative session, we're going to have eyes on the laws, and we're going to be making phone calls, and y'all need to be getting the phone numbers of your state legislators in your phone, in your contacts, okay? You got lots of people in your contacts. You better have your state rep and your state senator. I prefer you have your congressman and your senator as well, but it's at the state level that these laws are going down that are stripping families.